Kia ora koutou katoa, nau mai haramai ki te ao Hākinakina, your sports show right here on your Tribal Pulse, Te Korimako o Taranaki, 94.8 FM and 98.4 FM. Well, she is a former Silver Fern and one of New Zealand's most versatile netball players, standing at 1.85 metres. She has played nearly every position on the court and represented New Zealand at the highest level, including the 2006 Commonwealth Games, where the Silver Ferns claimed gold. She also had an impressive domestic career with teams like the Waikato Bay of Penny Magic and the Northern Mystics. Jessica Tuki, no mai haramai, it's fantastic to have you on the show with us.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Yeah, appreciate your time. Been looking forward to catching up with you and hearing about your amazing journey in the sport of netball. But before we get started, ko waikoe, noi koe, just a bit about yourself and where you're from.
So born and bred in New Plymouth. My parents, Wayne and Nicola, went through all my schools, St. John Bosco, Sacred Heart, and then left, went off to uni, headed down south to Otago. After 3 years there, went up to Hamilton and went to the Waikato University up there, and then when we were ready to settle down, my partner and I, James, who I met up in Hamilton, moved back down to New Plymouth. Must have been, 2015? Yeah.
Nice. Oh, awesome. Well, it's taken you across the country, which is awesome. Can you tell us about how you got into netball? Where did it start for you and what drew you to the sport?
I suppose growing up, as a female, netball was probably the main sport. You know, it was the thing that was offered to you at primary school. I have an older sister, and so she played first at primary school, and so of course I wanted to do it because she did it. And then mum took on the reins of coach through the primary school, and I suppose I just stuck with it. Dad was pretty sporty with basketball, so playing the sport sort of came naturally, I suppose, and then I grew, and that helped. I mean, I think there was a wee patch there of being a bit like a baby giraffe through the earlier teenage years, but thankfully came out the other side, slightly more coordinated. But just grew a love for the game. I really enjoy team sports. I'm really big on that. I think it just grows you as a whole person. I just love the game.
Beautiful, beautiful, and a great game it is. Now, you've played in almost every position, I believe, except for maybe centre. I'm sure you would have played centre at games or whatever.
I did. I did get a little stint at Magic at centre. I think I got a quarter, and I think I threw away the very first centre pass I had to throw. It was so nerve-wracking. But, I think I covered almost every position at the ANZ level. Yeah.
And how did that adaptability, you think, kind of shape your career?
I mean, it kind of had its drawbacks. In some ways, I was able to do everything, but not specifically one job well. And saying that it was an awesome experience, but it would have been really good to hone in on a specific area and make my mark there, looking back, I suppose, in hindsight. But I enjoyed my time, and I enjoyed the challenges that each position kind of came with. I think I started off as a shooter, and as I developed into the professional kind of netball scene, that really took a toll on my mental health. Looking back, it was pretty rough when the stats wouldn't go your way. And so naturally the shift out to wing attack was proposed, wing attack sort of centre. And then I don't even know how I ended up in the defence end. I think one of my Waikato club coaches put me in there, and then we just did Waikato NPC there. And then the next year I think it was the Fast Ferns, played wing D with Y. So, kind of just went that way and sort of stuck that way.
Nice. I totally understand what you mean about that versatility, because I know, like in rugby league, because I'm a bit of a rugby league fanatic, but yeah, sometimes you get that number 14 versatile guy that he can play anywhere, and he kind of, and they don't really give him an opportunity to stay in one position. So totally get it.
Yeah. I mean, like, it was great, but I think back now, and I wish I probably would have stood up for myself maybe a bit more and said, this is where I want to play. And I suppose if you don't want to select me in this position, then that's okay. But I think mature person, I've only realised that later on in life.
Wow, you must have done something right, because you ended up debuting for the Silver Ferns. What was it like getting the call up in 2006 for the Silver Ferns?
It was horrible, actually. I was over in Melbourne at the time as part of the NZA team. So we were there playing warm-up matches with other international teams and stuff, just to help everyone get ready, I suppose. And Jodie Tahuna at the time, Brown now, she did her ACL in one of those sort of training matches. And I remember the welcoming into the team, and while it was lovely, it was also a really sad time for Jodie, who had put in so much effort as well. So there was this sort of lovely yet awkward interchange of her and I, and that was really, I really felt for her. And at the time, I remember feeling not ready for that stage. I think had just turned 18. I was just quite in awe of it, really. I was quite starstruck by the whole opportunity. Yeah.
Wow, what an experience. Now, speaking of Jodie Brown, like you went on, I understand, at the Commonwealth Games, you stepped in for Jodie, and you ended up winning gold in Melbourne, is that right?
Yeah. So I came away with a gold, which was awesome. There was a while there, I mean, and that was my only debut for the Silver Ferns, but there was a while there where no one had ever won a World Cup gold, a Commonwealth Games gold, and a World Youth gold. And I held 2 out of the 3, and I felt like I was like, oh no, I've robbed someone of that gold. I was only there for such a short time. And then, of course, the girls that I played with, Casey and Laura and Maria, all went on to join that 2019, I think it was, World Cup team that won gold. So they finally got the 3. But yeah, for a while there, my stats looked awesome, like I was part of their little crew.
Oh, that's cool. What a journey. Now, obviously, it's been an amazing journey throughout your netball career, but what was the toughest part of competing at the elite level? What were some of those real tough challenges that you had to come up against?
Probably earlier on, like I say, the mental game. My family is very supportive. Growing up, they would take me to trainings in Wanganui, Palmerston North. They would come on some of the trips to Aussie if they could, and Dad helped me with my training. Being in New Plymouth, as you know, it's quite isolating as an athlete. We don't have, I suppose, the environments that the Aucklands and the Wellington centres kind of have. So they were a big part of my early career. And I think heading away as sort of a 17-year-old, I found it really hard to cope on my own without them. And then when things didn't go my way in netball and my game was starting to, stats weren't dropping, they were horribly low, I felt really isolated by myself. And I think that was probably the hardest part, is just having people talk about you and being like, oh my God, but that's not me. Like, I'm a person still. And I felt like I was, and it probably wasn't at the time, but it felt like it was massive hate on me. And that was really hard to deal with as a young kind of athlete coming through. And then I feel like it's only gotten worse, because really social media hadn't even taken off to that sort of level that it is now. But I think, that was probably the most challenging, was the feedback from, sideline. That was the horrible part for me. And because, you just want to be liked.
I really, really appreciate you sharing that, Jessica, because it is part and parcel of elite sports, and you often hear those type of stories, and it's something to, just make aware to our young ones, when they step into those spaces. So I appreciate you sharing that. Now make sure to stay tuned with us, whānau. We're going to go to a quick break now and come back to speak to Jessica more about her time in basketball too. Kia ora koutou wānau, welcome back to Te Ao Hākinakina, your sports show right here on your Tribal Pulse, Te Kori Mako o Taranaki 94.8 FM and 98.4 FM. Well, we're here with Jessica Tuki. We're having an awesome kōrero so far, and looking forward to what we're about to discuss. Now you had an outstanding domestic career. Which team or season kind of stands out as your favourite, and why?
Easily the 2012 Magic team. It just gelled, like we had such an awesome build up, and then our first 4 games of the season we lost, and it was like, we had all this awesome stuff behind us. We were working at the time with David Galbraith, who is a sports psych. And we were just like, oh my God, what's happened? We really gelled as a team. It was the first time Knowles had introduced fitness testing into the group. We were high-fiving each other because everyone had made the mark, and it was, it was just such a great environment. And then we lost, and it was like, and the bounce back from that and the way we all came together, it was just great. Like, it was just such an awesome team vibe. I don't even know how we did it, but we did it, and we went on to sort of never lose a game and win the title that year. And it was just such a great team. It was, from bench players to star player, everyone played their part, and it was just cohesive and awesome.
I definitely remember those heydays there for the Magic when you were a part of it. It was an awesome team. All right. Now, you also trialed for the Tall Ferns, I believe. Like, is that right? How did basketball influence your netball game?
So I suppose on the side, I always had a love for basketball. At the time of coming through, basketball was sort of you were lucky, I suppose, if you made a scholarship to America. You were sort of a few, maybe, if that. It wasn't really a sport to dominate in New Zealand, so naturally I went the netball way. But towards the end of my netball career, we had Leanne Walker come into our NPC training for Waikato and went through running screens and everything on court. And I said to her at the end, hey, is there a club league or something that I can join? I've been really missing my basketball. I'd love to get back into it. And she went, yeah. Come along here at this time. And I turned up, and it happened to just be like the Waikato women's basketball team. And I was like, oh, no, I haven't played basketball in years. I was like, this is going to be terrible. And I was actually terrible. But they just don't have the numbers at that time. They were like, oh, my God, you're 6 foot. We love it. We need some height here. Netball always steals our tall girls. So it was awesome. And I just started playing through her and with her daughters. They were only young at the time, and they had the mad skills then already. I just kind of went that way and ended up getting a Tall Ferns trialist spot. Yeah.
Oh, outstanding. That's outstanding. Well, obviously, after that time with a little bit of exposure to basketball, now life after netball, like what have you been up to since retiring from professional play?
Yeah, well, pretty much. I think my last stint was with the Mystics, and they said, "Oh, do you want to re-sign?" And I said, "No, I'm making the move back to New Plymouth. It's just not possible anymore, and I've done my dash, and I'm happy to leave." And then we pretty much got pregnant the next year after that, I think, and started our family down here. So we were blessed with 4 boys. for very, very, for very, very loud and energetic boys. So they're now what, 9, 7, nearly 5 and 2. So yeah, my life is them now. They keep me very, very busy. But I wouldn't have it any other way. It's been great to kind of have the best of both worlds, have that selfish time for me and my sport, and now devote my time and energy to my family.
Well, I'm sure they're all very, very proud of you and the journey you've been on in your netball career. Now, if there was, a bit of advice you could give one of our young kōtiro, our young netball players here in little old Taranaki, what's the piece of advice you would give?
I think it's that whole aspect, and I've seen it a bit through my oldest boys. Be coachable, turn up on time, do the work. It's those things are easy to tick off. The things that you can do and you can control. You can turn up in the best shape of your life if you need to. You can turn up on time. Those things. You can do that, and keep doing that. That's what makes a coachable player. Do all of that stuff and the skills come. You're going to learn the skills, and you're going to go into a cohesive unit as a team and find your bearings there. But do all of that other stuff that really, is going to, get you across the line. Yeah.
Love that. Great piece of advice there for all our listeners at home. Now, lastly, where do you see the sport of netball in New Zealand kind of going over the next decade or so? What would you like to see for the game?
I'm not sure. To be honest, I haven't watched a lot of it lately. But, I'd like to still see that participation going up. I know, other sports are coming through and not stealing players, but there's other opportunities there, and I'd just like to see it still remain and grow as a number one female sport here in New Zealand, and just participation, and probably the likes of myself and other players giving back to that sport to keep it growing, because we have a lot of life members, and man, they are just so passionate about the game. It's awesome. And I like that they love some of the changes, they hate some of the changes, but they're so involved still. And I feel like maybe there's a little bit of a lull there where people don't give back anymore to their sports.
Yeah.
And I think that's how we keep it going. That's how we keep it strong. Give it back. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. Jessica, thank you so much for sharing your incredible journey with us on the show, from your versatility on the court to representing New Zealand on the world stage. Your story is truly inspiring. Even, a mama of 4 young boys, that's powerful in itself. And on behalf of everyone here in Taranaki, we're real proud of the journey that you've been on, and thanks for sharing it with us.
Thank you. I'm proud to represent Taranaki. It's awesome. Love this town.
Kia ora.